Welcome back to the Mazikeen Show. Hey everyone, welcome to Prince of the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Season 2, Episode 8 of Lucifer. And I call it the Mazikeen Show, or Maze, I guess, if you want to shorten that. Because, at least for this season, if I'm being completely honest, she's stealing the show. Maze is kind of like, I wouldn't say she's the main character this season, but she definitely has the best moments and is just absolutely like winning me over like never before. And it's been a while since we've actually gotten to this. So we put this on hold back in November, and we're finally back. I wanted to put it on hold because we were at that point in the season where I just wanted to wait a bit before we got to more. It's one of those shows that, because of the length of episodes especially, I don't want to force myself to get through. If I'm feeling like not necessarily burnt out, but if I'm feeling like I want to just, take a break from it. And sometimes that helps too, you got to realize. For me at least, I prefer having breaks in shows because it allows me to really get excited for what's to come. It's the same reason I don't like excuse me. Don't know what was happening there. It's the same reason I don't like binging shows. Because I feel like if you go through a series too fast, it it doesn't stick with you as much. You just move on. Like you binge, like let's say you binge an 8 episode series or season of a series in a day. The very next day you're watching something else, and within a week you've completely forgotten what happened because you never had time to focus on it, to think about it, to like understand what was going on. And again, I've actually binged shows in the past, so I do know this. It's not just saying like, oh, this could be the case. Stranger Things season 2, I can barely tell you anything about because I binged that. I think I did it in 2 sittings, but still, I binged season 2 of Stranger Things, and I could tell you pretty much nothing about that season because it didn't stick with me. And pretty much every show that I've binged has been like that. There's some exceptions here and there. Like One Piece, there was a good amount of time where I was binging episodes to catch up. But One Piece is special because it's my favorite piece of media of all time. And I tend to get like really attached to everything happening for the most part. So it tends to be easier for me to remember than other things. But that's an exception, not the rule. That's like the maybe 5% of shows that would be okay for me to binge. But that's why I take breaks in between seasons, why I sometimes take breaks during seasons of shows, and Lucifer was no exception. I feel with like live action shows that are like double length episodes, about 40 to an hour long episodes, those are shows I need to take breaks on a little more often, or a little more consistently because they they tend to take a little more out of me than like, just as an example, animated like 21-minute episode shows. I can't fully explain why, but they do. I think part of it is because live action shows and animated shows tend to have very different pacing to them, even if they're the same runtime. Like you notice that, I'm sure. I hope I'm not the only one who notices it, at least. But like if you take like an animated show where the episodes are like 40 minutes to an hour long, and you take a live action show of the same length, the live action show's pacing, I don't know why this is, feels like slower. And slow pacing's not always bad. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it's very valuable for a show. But it can sometimes feel like I'm watching for longer because of it. And that takes a little bit more out of me during reacting. And again, I can't explain to you like the science behind why this happens. But this is like almost entirely consistent with live action versus animation. Like, even with live action shows that are like around 20 to 30 minutes long, which are surprisingly rare these days, but even those feel like longer than an animated series of the same length. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. It's possible. But it's something that I've always noticed. And that's why we don't do as many live action shows on the channel, too. But we are back with Lucifer. I don't entirely remember what happened last time, but this series does do a last time on. And most of these episodes tend to have like episodic case of the week stuff anyways. There is the ongoing story with everything happening with Lucifer's mom. I do remember that. Mazikeen is obviously having like a lot of character growth with her new friends and with the daughter. My mind is going to Monkey because I think that's what her mom calls her. I can't even remember the mom's name. Like, what the hell? I know it's been months, but still. I'll get the names down again. It won't be. For some reason, I can remember Dan's name. Of all characters, Dan. God, I'm turning into Lucifer with the way I'm talking about Dan. But in all seriousness, I'm definitely interested to see this again, because I do like this, and I do like Tom Ellis as Lucifer, obviously. All the actors do a pretty great job. I'm definitely interested to see where this goes now that we're going to be back, and to get reminded of everything that has been happening leading up to all of this. And before we begin, last thing I want to mention is I accidentally downloaded the wrong episode at first. I noticed that because I was bringing up the episode on VLC Media Player to like have it set up so I could go right into the reaction after these pre-thoughts. And I went to it, I know it's like episode 9. That's right? It's like it started like tickling at my mind, like, is that correct? So I went to my YouTube studio and I typed in Lucifer also to see when the last time I reacted to the series was. Because I wanted to know exactly when it was. It was, again, November of last year. And so I saw that it's like, oh, that's episode 7. Oh, then I'm on episode 8, not 9. I messed up. When I looked at my schedule, I realized I probably was just looking at the wrong date. I have things scheduled on there, like, oh, I'm getting to this episode on this date and so on. And I was probably just looking at next week's date for that. So, yeah, that's fun. But I got the right episode downloaded, so no harm. And speaking of that episode, let's just get into it and get back into this series. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So yeah, that's the thing I'm kind of like unsure on right now, and I think that's intentional. Um, their mother is complicated because I believe her when she's saying that she just wants her family back. And I mean, outside of Uriel, for obvious reasons, she wants them all back together in heaven. The problem with this is that Lucifer actively doesn't want to go. And I don't know if I would consider her like a straight up villain, but she's at the very least going to be like a recurring antagonist here. And with the fact that he's like made it very clear to her now that the reason that he sees Earth as his home, as this city, these people, is because he feels like he's respected and wanted and cared about here. Things that he didn't get in heaven or hell. Things that he just never truly experienced before. Things that he has come to realize are important to him. And I'm seeing this kind of this reaction from their mother at the end when God closes a door, a window opens, or whatever the phrase is. It kind of comes across as she's going to use that against him, which we already kind of see, like she unintentionally tried to do with the blade here. I see it as like because she, as we know, has absolutely no real positive view on humanity. And part of that is because, God focused so much time into creating it that she felt abandoned and neglected and everything. But part of it also is just she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand humanity. She doesn't see the point. She's high and mighty. She sees herself as superior because of her position and who she is and all. This celestial primordial being that is much more powerful than humanity can become. And so she has no problem, as we see in this episode with the blade and everything which she set into motion. She has no problem killing people. She has no problem with humanity killing each other. And this is leading me into thinking she's going to either like actively threaten Chloe, Dan, and all of the others that Lucifer's made a connection with in order to take away his hold on this planet, on Earth, on LA specifically, I guess, so that he feels like he has nothing else but to go back with them. Or she's just gonna start like this entire war or something. Either way, it's not gonna be good. And we've seen how Lucifer has gotten panicked and stuff over, like, even just Chloe being threatened. So this, I don't think, is going to have the effect she thinks it's going to. I think this is going to be... Excuse me. I think this is going to be a bad move. For a number of reasons. Meanwhile, the case of the week this episode, outside of its connection to the main plot and the knife and everything, was honestly a weaker one, in my opinion. It wasn't that interesting. There was some, unfortunate depth and sadness to it with, like, finding out that this woman at the end had been, like, violently raped by this guy. And Lucifer actually sticking up for her and saying that she only killed him in self-defense. it's like it shows again because how Lucifer has grown because he has no connection to her. This isn't like him sticking up for Chloe or Dan or Linda or Maze or anyone like that. This is some woman he has absolutely no connection to. Yet he heard that she was raped by him. And although, like, the connection might be different, he feels connected to her as someone who has been a victim of someone else. In his case, he sees himself as a victim of his father and all, which, to a degree, it seems to be the case in this continuity and everything. And he sympathized with her, even if he couldn't quite empathize, because he, again, hasn't necessarily gone through the exact same situation. He still saw her plight, her pain, and stood up for her. And that's pretty wild. But it's good character development. It's growth. It shows that he can change. And that he is changing for the better. And that's the kind of shit I really love to see. Because I've mentioned before, throughout various places on this channel, I tend to like value characters and story above everything else when it comes to pretty much any series, movie, etc., etc. That's the stuff that matters the most to me. Because I feel like a series can have like poor quality graphics or effects or whatnot, not the greatest music, etc. If it's animated, not necessarily the greatest animation or voice acting, and it can still be good. But if it has a bad story, if it has bad characters, that harms it. Like, that actively hurts the series in a way that none of that other stuff does, in my opinion. Because I've seen a lot of shows that have been great that don't have the best voice acting or the best, live acting or, again, graphics and effects and whatnot, directing, etc. But as long as the story, the writing, the dialogue, and the character work are all good, I can live with the other stuff not being as much so. Because what I get invested in is the characters and the story. The other stuff can help and be great bonuses and help bring it to life, especially, again, in animation. But it's not the biggest necessity for me. And again, that just might be me. And there are some shows and stuff, again, especially animation, where that stuff does really matter. And it does make the series as good as it is. Like One Piece, I genuinely do not think would be as good as it is without the voice actors, without the sound effects, the music score, and everything that Toei puts into it, visually and auditorily. But the story written by Oda, the characters created by Oda, that is still the biggest highlight and most important part of the series. But both can be important. But then you have like other shows out there where it's like, I'm not a fan of this art style necessarily, but I love this series because it's well made in terms of story and characters. The animation might be a little stilted, might look a little weak, but the story and characters are still good. And sometimes, like, bad animation or stuff can affect things, depending on how bad it is and everything. There's always exceptions, of course, but generally speaking, the two most important things for me are always going to be story and characters. And in this situation specifically, Lucifer has always had good story and characters. Not every episode's little side thing with the case of the week, not every one of those is amazing. But the overarching story has always been great. And the characters are definitely the biggest highlight of this series. And especially with the acting performances. Lucifer's fantastic. I love Maze. Linda's hilarious. Like, these are great characters. And so we get to see a lot of that in this episode. And I like how we find out, like, how the blade got taken and everything right early on. This episode really does feel like it is setting up Lucifer's mom as being a main antagonist for this season. Which, excuse me, we kind of got a bit of that before. But it's like this episode really hits into that. And in a way that actually makes me even happier that I took the break when I did, specifically. Because coming back to this episode and having this kind of like revelatory drop that the main antagonist of this season is more than likely going to be his mom is a really great thing to come back to after months away from this series. So I really think that we executed that surprisingly well. Unintentionally so, but still. I'm very excited to see more of this as we go along. And I think this season has like somewhere just under 20 episodes or something. So we're about halfway through or so. Approximately. I mean, 8 and 8 is 16, but, 9 and 9 is 18. So we're almost about halfway through. Again, approximately. I could look up exactly how many episodes there are. Won't take too long. Lucifer... Or, rather, how many episodes? Oh, wow. I looked this up before, so it automatically came up for me. No, 18 episodes. Wow. I was correct. Apparently, it was originally planned for 22 episodes, according to this, but Fox cut the final 4 to be part of Season 3. Okay. I wonder if that means it's going to end off at a weird place. I hope not. I hope it still feels natural. Basically, I just hope that the crew and everyone did a great job at making it feel as such. But, so yeah, next episode will be the halfway point. So, we were a couple episodes away from halfway last time, but oh well. Not really much I can do about that now. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. I wonder if we'll see more of the knife. I assume we're going to. And I'm very, very curious to see how, like, the rest of this develops. With all the talk about God and everything, I wonder if we're going to see him by the end of the season. Because I assume he appears in the series. I mean, God appears in Supernatural, so... I assume he's going to appear in the series. In Lucifer. I mean, he has to, right? I also wonder if we're going to see, like, all of the other angels at some point. I have to assume we will. I just don't know for sure. That being said, though, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. And welcome back to, this series. So for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.